the book isn't as somber. There are sort of more cheerful poems at the end of the book that are called From the Book of Last Thoughts, which are all the, which are the last thoughts that a variety of different characters have before they die. These are the light poems in the book. I used to be a big basketball player, and I collapsed while playing basketball in 2002, and a day later I had a pacemaker implanted. But I was being carried out of the gym on a stretcher. My epitaph came to me, which was, he finally took it to the hole. And then I thought, I could write a book of epitaphs, and I thought, well, that's sort of been done. And anyway, how about last words? Well, last words are still sort of part of a social machinery, and you wouldn't want to hurt someone's feelings before you checked out. You'd still be constrained to really tell the full truth. But last thoughts, that's a really interesting idea. What is somebody's last thoughts before the end? So I started writing these sort of dramatic monologues in the voices of different characters, and every poem is the form is sort of fitted to the person's occupation, and I'll just read. Let's see what time it is. I'll just read one of these, maybe two. So I love country western music, and I've always wanted to write country western music, and so I thought I would write a last thoughts of a country western singer, and of course, I try to get into the poem all of the sort of the furniture of a country western song. I mean, he has to be an alcoholic, and so this is a guy who's dying of alcohol poisoning, and it's in the form of a country western song, and though most of the words in the poem are spoken by alcohol, anyway, this is country western singer. I used to feel like a new man after the day's first brew, but then the new man I became would need a tall one too. As would the new man he became, and the new one after him, and so on and so forth, till the new men made the dizzy room go dim. And each one said, I'll be your muse, I'll trade you song for beer. He said, I'll be your salt lick, honey, if you will be my dear. He said, I'll be your happy hour, and you, boy, you'll be mine, and mine won't end at 6 or 7, or even at closing time. Yes, son, I'll be your spirit guide. I'll lead you to Absolute, to Dewar's, Bushmills, and Jameson, then down to Old Tanglefoot. And there I'll drain the pretense from you that propped you up so high. I'll teach you how salvation's just salivation without the I. To hear his sweet talk was to think you'd gone from rags to riches, till going from drink to drink became like going from hags to bitches, like going from bed to bathroom stool, from stool to bathroom stall, from stall to sink and sink to stool, from stool to hospital. The monitors beep like pinball machines, and coldly the IV drips, and a nurse runs a moistened washcloth over my parched and bleeding lips. And the blood I taste, the blood I swallow, is as far away from wine as 5:10 is for the one who dies at 5:09. One more poem, and that'll be it. The last poem in the book is sort of a variation on this theme of last thoughts, except that it's someone who's already dead, and he's a comic. He's a Jewish comic who finds himself in heaven on open mic night, and he starts to do his Borscht Belt shtick, but he discovers that the room, probably like this room, with the exception of a few people, is full of Christians. So the Jewish jokes aren't going over so well, and so it's my brother was a comic and actor and singer, but he was mostly really a funny guy, and I loved comedy, especially sort of old style Catskills Jewish comedy. So it gave me an opportunity to write some jokes, even though they're meant to be really bad jokes, but that's what sort of makes them funny, at least to me. So so it's called Open Mic Night in Heaven. There's only one thing you need to know that you wouldn't be able to get from hearing me say it, except Eric would know this, but nobody else would know it. Nobody else, unless you're Jewish, would know it. When you ask an old Jewish woman a question she doesn't want to answer, she says, don't ask. Don't ask. And the way it's said looks just like Dantesque, like Dante, Dantes. So there's a little pun there. Because it's never good if you have to explain the joke. But it's the kind of thing you'd get if you saw it. Anyway, open mic night in heaven. And this is the last poem I'm going to read. Open mic night in heaven. I may be dead, but I'm dying here. Among these not-so-friendly Caspers, with their laundered visages all mute, blank, unkillable. So I say, you know, it's hard to do stand-up when you haven't got a leg to stand on. which gets me nothing. Not even a faint hosanna of a heckle. Anybody here from Limbo? But seriously, spooks, what's the material and spirit? I miss my body. I miss your body. Well, maybe not your body. I miss the cockamamie in-between of having and being a body, the neither in nor out of it. See, that was my mother load. And man, what a load I was. Yeah, I was so fat, I crushed my inner child. My wife said, honey, can I help you off with that? And I was naked. I told her I needed something looser to wear. She said, how about Montana? Christ, if she hadn't been a restless sleeper, I'd have had no sex at all. Just kidding, just kidding. I loved what I hated. I loved my girlfriend. She was a ball-busting feminist, so I never cheated on her, not even with my wife. She said she was writing a kid's book about my penis. What are you going to call it? I asked. Hop on Pop? No, she said, the little engine that couldn't. Speaking of the body, I loved its leaky stinks and secretions, its sly reversals, spinach in the teeth of being cool, the banana peels of dignity. I loved my misery, and yours, especially yours. For the truth is, deprivation was for me what gold lame was for Liberace. If I could wring a punchline from the pain, then for that moment anyway, I was like what? If not like you, Lord, lordly. Which reminds me of my Aunt Ethel, a survivor, Lord, who told me, she said, Sonny, when I got out of Auschwitz, I weighed 69 pounds. 69 pounds, and I still had a fat ass. Oh, you who made the fucked sprawl of unbearable sorrow we call talk radio. Who made hog rhyme with synagogue. And who alone knows why Muammar Gaddafi would take over a country and declare himself not generalissimo, not king, but colonel? What am I doing here? You wise guy, you holy trinity of stooges. What's the big idea? Why have you brought me to the edge of heaven, if not to look back to the infernal regions? How infernal? Don't ask, my aunt would say. That is Dantesque. Into the smoke-filled clubs, the dives, the mine shafts of the lower circuits, where the ones you're eternally killing make howls that from this distance sound almost like laughter. Thank you all.